Good morning, everybody. Craig Peterson here. Thanks for joining me. This morning, I was talking more about this Commonwealth of Independent States. In case you're not aware of it, these are the countries that were part of the Soviet Union. Now, not all of them are in it, but the majority of them are. And why are the hackers going out of their way to avoid hacking? It might be a red herring, frankly, but it also might be because there could be some severe penalties for them. And how you can use that in order to help save you from getting hacked. So all of that here this morning, as well as a little bit more about the meat packing plants that had to close down here throughout North America. So here we go with Mr. Matt Gagnon.
All right, 7:36 WGAN Morning News. A good time to talk to Craig Peterson, our tech guru, who joins us at this time every Wednesday. Of course, you also hear him on Saturdays at 1 when he talks about all these topics and more in more depth. Craig, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing well. WGAN is always a good time, not just when I'm on. I do a little something extra.
A little something extra. Thanks so much for joining us here, of course, for that little something extra right now. Craig Peterson, I do have to ask you first about meat hacking. That's how I've been plugging it all morning here. Obviously, we had the oil pipeline hack. Now we have beef plants forced to shut down because of a cyber attack here. So these cyber attacks are happening with increased frequency and are a problem. Tell me, sir, what's happening here and what it means for us?
We have a whole crew of people internationally. Some are in Russia, some are in China, of course, we've talked about North Korea and others before, who are trying to make money. And the way they can make money is going after targets that are particularly rich, that have the money to pay the ransoms. And that's why they're going after these guys. It's like Sutton. Why did he rob banks? Supposedly because that's where the money was. And in this case, that's really what they're doing, Matt.
It certainly is where the money is, and they're happening with, it seems like, greater frequency, or at the very least, greater visibility, because they're going after big stuff here. Do you expect this to continue? I know that there's been some talk here after the pipeline attack that we're going to reinforce our infrastructure and make sure things like this don't happen again. Any truth to that?
Yeah, there is. There's a number of things that are going on right now to try and tighten things up. But I've got to say this, JBS, which is the company that was attacked here, this meat packing company that basically a quarter of all of our beef and a fifth of all of our poultry is packed there. They responded pretty darn well. They didn't obviously keep the hackers out, but nothing is 100%. They immediately did something that Solar Winds took not Solar Winds, but where Colonial Pipeline took a little bit longer to do, and that is they shut things down very quickly. They started to see what was going on. They immediately brought in a team of people that this is what they do. They help bring companies back from a ransomware attack. They brought in a lot of people so they could start restoring all of the systems, it looks like from backups, and then start turning things back on one at a time. I imagine they'll tighten up some of their security operations, which we all need to do, which goes right into your question of, are we going to do more? Is there more we can do? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Every one of us. Most of the time, the bad guys are using what are called zero-day attacks initially, which means there is a vulnerability in something, very often in Microsoft Windows or in a firewall, and the bad guys know about it, but it hasn't been patched yet. But I got to tell you, that is only really used against these very big operators where there's a whole lot of money involved. Most of the time, we're getting hacked because we haven't patched. Now, I know how painful it can be to patch, okay? Especially when we're talking about Microsoft. You can apply their patches and then brick your machine. In other words, turn your machine into something that's almost useless, and it's going to take you days to recover. So people are weighing that back and forth. Is it worth potentially knocking myself off the air for a day or two or three because a patch was bad from Microsoft or from another vendor? Or should I do the patch, take the risk of it not working very well or maybe causing harm and then going further? I blame Microsoft for much of this.
You blame Microsoft for a lot of things, Craig.
I do. They're a terrible company. They really are. The things they've done to the industry. But the reason I'm blaming Microsoft here is, are you kidding me? They're sitting on billions of dollars in cash, and they release patches for their buggy software. Okay, I get that. Everybody releases patches, and the patches break systems. So people don't trust it anymore. So that's how I'm looking at it here. I read an article this morning from the New York Times, and they were looking at this hack from, again, probably maybe Russia, maybe China, and they're saying, President Biden says it's from Russia. Reading between the lines, Microsoft said their hack, which was the major part of the whole SolarWinds hack, was actually from China. And the Biden administration went quiet on this. But it's hard to say. We know Russia's been hacking a lot. We know China's been hacking a lot, although China's more behind the scenes. We don't really know where they come from. But, Matt, we can do something about it. Keep your software up to date. If you can, don't use Windows. And switch over to a Mac. Their patches work, and they have for years. And be more security conscious.
So speaking of Russian hackers, Craig, I do have to ask you whether or not there is something we can do, one weird trick, if you will, one of those eternal clickbaity items here. Yeah, right. Yeah. If there is one weird trick to stop these Russian hackers, right? They're out there. Yeah. How do you do it?
This is the coolest thing ever. It's absolutely true. This comes from Brian Krebs and a few other people out there right now. There is something you can do right now. It'll only take you 10 minutes, maybe 15. And here's what it is. We know that the Russian hackers are not attacking former Soviet territories. And the reason for that is, if they are hacking from Russian territory and they hack a Russian company or another one of these companies that are part of the Commonwealth of Independent States, which is, again, the former Soviet Union for the most part, if they hack a Russian company and they get caught, they get to go to a Russian prison, which doesn't sound like much fun to me. And so what they've done is they've built into almost all of this software a kill switch. We're talking about ransomware software, hacker software. If you install a virtual Russian keyboard on your computer, just like you may have a Spanish keyboard or a French keyboard on your computer, install a Russian or one of a few other languages keyboard on your computer. You don't have to use it. You don't have to type in Russian. You don't have to learn Cyrillic, none of that. When the software starts to run in your computer, almost all of it, the first thing it does is says, is there a Russian keyboard? And if the answer is yes, it short-circuits itself. And this is what we're thinking, and I think this is right. This is the way the Russian hackers are avoiding attacking Russian or Russian Commonwealth states, this Commonwealth of Independent States. It's the way they're stopping the inadvertent hack of a nation, of a company that might end them up in Siberia, because they still do have some fun stuff going on up there.
Craig Peterson, our tech guru, joins us at this time every week to go over the world of technology. Thanks, Craig. As always, good luck on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next week, sir.
Hey, you're welcome. And I'm going to put instructions on how to do this in this week's newsletter. So make sure you're signed up at CraigPeterson.com, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as well on Saturday.